All right, lay it out for us.
It's a bright green light.
Yeah.
I mean, for tech, because to me, it's like, think about it, you got AI revolution hitting its next stage of growth. We've seen it with Oracle, Nvidia, and across the rest of tech. Now you got a cut cycle. In my opinion, this is really going to turbocharge this tech rally. And it's not just about Mag 7.
Yeah.
It's about second, third, fourth derivatives.
Yeah.
I think tech stocks could be up another 10% between now and the rest of the year.
Is that more of a sentiment issue, the idea that with the Fed being more accommodative, or is this really about like cost of capital? Because I would assume a lot of these people in the tech space, these companies in the tech space aren't really borrowing.
Well, I think that's part of it. I mean, this is on,
Yeah.
and guess what they're going to spend on? AI, data centers. So it speaks to our view. Like, look, tech's had a strong year so far, but it's get the popcorn out. I mean, this is still, we've talked about it, it's only 10:15, 10:30 p.m. in that party that goes to 4 a.m., started at 9 p.m. a year ago. And you look, it's soft.
All right, explain it to us. The light is vivid green. Indeed, I'm referring to technology sense. To me, it's amazing that the AI revolution is now entering its next phase of development. We've seen Nvidia, Oracle, and other tech companies. You have a cut cycle now. This is going to really boost this tech surge, in my opinion, and Mag 7 isn't the only issue. The second, third, and fourth derivatives are at issue. I believe that between now and the end of the year, tech stocks could rise by a further 10%. Is this truly about the cost of financing, or is it more of a sentiment issue, with the Fed being more accommodating? Because it seems to me that many of these individuals and businesses in the tech sector aren't actually borrowing. That's part of it, I believe. This is what they're planning to spend on AI data centers. And guess what? That reflects our opinion. Tech has had a great year so far, but it's time to get the popcorn out. We've discussed it, but this is still only 10:15 or 10:30 p.m. at that party that lasts till 4 o'clock a.m. a year ago. It began at 9 p.m., you see. It's electronics and software. You now examine the electricity side, the data center side, and names such as Nova and others. That is, after all, the most thrilling thing to me. We're kind of starting to see it, especially based on what we saw out of this earnings period. It's about the second, third, and fourth derivatives playing out across town. I won't argue that Oracle surprised everyone, but the punctuation mark and the notion that it is expanding out were definitely noteworthy. The other day, we discussed how Corning had been rising for about 11 days in a row, and how there are stocks that were kind of overlooked or not really thought of as part of the tech AI trade that are now receiving a lot more attention. That's a terrific point, in my opinion, because investors are now concentrating on that and trying to figure out who will benefit from it. Software, small cap, mid cap, and across chips, as there is merely more proof that the AI revolution is at this next development stage. Use cases are growing rapidly. Take a look at what has also occurred on the consumer side. CapEx remains incredibly stable. And when that unfolds in a cut cycle look, I just think tech it's a Ferrari, traveling at 100 miles per hour in the left lane. Additionally, I believe that there will be speed bumps along the way. However, since this is just the beginning, I simply see those as the bark being worse than the bite, as we witnessed with Nvidia, China News, and others. Since I think this is where AI and cryptocurrency converge, I think I'm doing the next leg of the bull cycle. This will become the standard for de facto authentication. And it's insane in terms of where we are right now, perhaps, the view, but the truth is that human proof will become increasingly significant in the future with bots and robots. See, 16 million people have already registered for this. We think it will reach 100 million within the next year, after all, and for that reason, I'm really thrilled to be doing this. As you might imagine, BitMine and Tom Lee are among the many outstanding investors who share my vision for the future of artificial intelligence. The future of AI, in my opinion, cannot be achieved without what I consider to be genuine human-proof authentication. 16 million individuals are scanning their eyes now, aren't they? For doing it, what do they receive? Yes. As a result, you receive a coin, a world app, and the world coin itself. The way that's developing, for example, is something that makes us think that this will actually build a network. In other words, it's essentially the beginning of PayPal. 16 million is yours. In the next year, we think it will reach 100 million. Japan is currently Asia's second largest advertiser. What are they doing in Thailand, and how can you obtain your real licenses in Malaysia? They are waiting in line for this. If you think about it, This was only introduced in the United States a few months ago. How do advertisers distinguish between a human and a bot when the orbs spread around cities and the use cases grow? If it's this, how do you feel about dating? How can you recognize a bot on social networking sites? The future is currently this, particularly when considering autonomy and the direction the world is taking. Look, Sam, I believe they built it. I am a fundamental believer, though. Palantir 2022 is this. When Jensen was merely discussing AI, all of the critics told Nvidia to concentrate on games. When Musk was discussing EVs and the idea of and, everyone was saying, "You're a car company. You're never going to be." It was Tesla. And that's why my perspective is different. Isn't it, for someone like me who has been there from the debut of Steve Jobs' iPhone to Tesla, Palantir, and Nvidia? I'm really thrilled about doing this because, as an analyst, I've been through it. You keep talking about robots now. Humanoid robots are very popular. It goes without saying that Tesla is most likely the only publicly traded corporation with a robot that you can learn more about. Do you believe that within the next year or so, every private company will go public? Examine Figure AI. They've done some incredible things, and they just raised a massive round. You know, we're not talking about 10 years from now. Rather, we're talking about 18 months or 2 years, and Tesla will be at the forefront of this humanoid robot. I've visited their facilities and some of the humanoid things they're developing. From an optimist's point of view, I believe Tesla is the finest public play. But guess who's providing all the chips? Nvidia. Because they're looking at it here, investors generally underestimate Nvidia, which is in line with my opinion. You have to look at where it's going in the years to come. And for that reason, I believe that the ultimate goal of AI is robotics and autonomy. Then, it's cybersecurity, in my opinion. Like everything else we're discussing here, I believe cybersecurity must be safeguarded. And if you look at what's going on, particularly with many of these use cases, you'll see that there are a lot of old legacy names, like Checkpoint for others, as well as names like CrowdStrike, POW, and XK. To me, one of the main topics we're concentrating on is cybersecurity. Then, the consumer side is another issue on which we are really focused. Among our favorite names are Alphabet and Meta. You know, Alphabet is a table pounder, and now that the DOJ deal has been reached, sentiment is beginning to improve significantly. However, in my opinion, Alphabetize CAI as a huge advantage for Google is not the biggest obstacle. In fact, it produces a tailwind. In the end, I believe that Apple is now on the outside looking in when it comes to AI, but this will change soon, because that's a different story. The recurring theme is that I believe they are about to monetize their install base. What about the recently revealed glasses from Facebook? Do you think those are good? As you can see, I believe that's one of those moonshot projects where, well, hardware isn't really their primary area of expertise. That is, when Zach serves as the CEO during the conflict and truly makes a name for himself. In the end, it depends on the software. The focus is on expanding the ecosystem. I believe you'll have some success here and there, hardware. Moving the needles isn't strictly the goal, but I believe that's where they're attempting to stay ahead of Apple's eventual direction. Because, in my opinion, your phone will have spectacles in a few years. You will be able to view your emails and apps through these eyeglasses. In the end, you will be able to move and react to things using your eyes. However, that is the future. And from Nvidia to Meta to, Alphabet to everyone else. I believe that the tech industry is currently experiencing an arms race. This is the reason that big tech alone is spending $350 billion. Every time someone mentions the bubble of the 1990s, I was an analyst in the late 1990s, so you can't compare, because the primary spenders here are big tech. And you're discussing businesses that spend $350 billion annually and have $1 trillion on their balance sheet. However, it is only the beginning. The sovereigns and other businesses will soon begin to adopt this. The retail audience was early, if not before, the institutional world, according to the retail trend, which you stated, including Palantir, Tesla, and many other names.